Hi English students, this is Miss Newman, and at this point we need to cover the research paper, specifically what I'm expecting for this assignment. A research paper requires outside sources of information, so that information could come from books, articles, videos, interviews, etc. As long as it's a credible source, I'm not too worried about the type of source. Depending on your topic, you might find that interviews are better for you, or a documentary, or a print book. It really just depends on what you can find when you're researching. But you're using these outside sources to fully argue a stance on a particular topic. Every source that is utilized must have both an in-text citation attached to the sentence that has the source's information. So, for example, if the author's last name was Bowden and the quote came from page 45, the in-text citation would look like Bowden 45. So you'll have an in-text citation along with a full citation on the works cited page. This research paper must include at least 2 outside sources. So at this point, I'm going to refer to the Seagull textbook. So if you need to pause the video and grab your textbook, this is a good time to do so. So just a reminder, like I covered for the descriptive narrative essay, this is what your MLA formatted essay should look like. Notice the heading, the page number, the font, and the spacing. You can use all these as a guide. This is on page 192 of your textbook. But at this point, we're covering new information because I want us to look at in-text citations. A great example page for in-text citations is page 154. Notice you can put the author's last name at the beginning of the sentence and the page number at the end in the parentheses, as example 1 has, or you could include the author and page number at the end. So, also notice there's examples of various types of sources for in-text citation in this area. One I really want you to pay attention to is page 156. If the author is unknown, as some web pages, they don't list authors, they'll have the title of the article. You would put the title of the article in the parentheses with quotation marks around it to show that it's a title. So page 154 and page 156 are really good examples of in-text citations. You'll need to include those at the end of every sentence that you either quote information from the source, or even if you reword the information. If you didn't know the information before you read the source, you have to give credit to the person who relayed that information to you. Otherwise, you'll be guilty of plagiarism. And plagiarism is essentially intellectual theft. It's letting the reader assume that you knew the information without research, and that's not okay. But if you have any questions about plagiarism, please let me know. But notice I mentioned you have to have an in-text citation, so the thing within the parentheses, and you're also going to need what's called a works cited page. Page 199 has a really good example of what a works cited page looks like. Notice it doesn't just list the author of the source, it has a lot of information about the source. So it would have the title, where it was published, the year it was published, and it depends on the source. Of course, for a website, you'll include the link to the website. For an interview, you would list it as an interview. So it really just depends on what source you're using. So if you're ever not sure how to cite the source, your textbook has really good examples, and I'm happy to help you cite your sources. I'd much rather spend a few minutes working with you through email or a phone call, or even if you need to stop by my office, I'd much rather go ahead and help you cite these sources than for you to accidentally plagiarize. So definitely just send me a question if you have a question. Also, notice this works cited page is not a list of links. I've gotten lists of just copy and pasted website links. That is not a works cited page, and your grade will be negatively impacted if you send just a list of links, especially now that you've seen this information. So please use page 199 as a guide for your works cited page. But notice you only have to have 2 outside sources at minimum, so that's not that many sources to have to cite. Of course, if you find more research for your paper, feel free to include it. So if you have 3, 4, 5 outside sources, I will definitely allow extra sources, but I didn't want it to be so overwhelming for students that this might be your first research paper, or maybe your first paper in quite a long while that required research. So just know that you only have to have 2 outside sources, which means 2 citations on the works cited page. The rough draft is due Wednesday, October 26th by midnight in discussions. Just like you did for the descriptive narrative essay, you'll peer review each other's essays for this as well. The final draft will be due Wednesday, November 2nd at midnight in the Week 8 content folder. This essay carries the most weight of any of your essays. It's 30% of your final grade, but this is the longest essay you'll write for the entire semester, so that's why it carries more weight than the others. Research papers should be at least 1,000 words in length. That does count that works cited page, so the words that you type out for your works cited entries will count towards that 1,000 total. Also notice that you've got almost an entire month to work on this final draft. So you will have several weeks to draft this essay, work with Writing Center tutors, ask me questions, revise as you're going along. So it's certainly not that I'm requiring you to have a 1,000 word essay within a week or two. You have an entire month to work on this assignment. Your formatting, like I mentioned before, is the same formatting as the descriptive narrative. It's 12-point Times New Roman font, double space with MLA heading and style, but this new part of this paper is the works cited page. The descriptive narrative did not require a works cited page because there's no outside sources used for it. It was just based off your own experience. But this paper must have a works cited page. It's not a research paper without a works cited page. So if you have any questions about how to create a works cited page, where it belongs, it's the last page in your paper, how to format it, anything, please just let me know. I understand this might be your first time creating one of these. Notice also in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a week where we only work on the works cited page. So I want to emphasize you will have to have a works cited page for this paper. So if you have any questions or are confused in the least bit, please let me know. The final draft late submission rule is the same as the descriptive narrative. It's 10 points off every day late. So just make sure you turn in your final draft on November 2nd and you won't have to worry about having any negative impact for the late submission. All of your final drafts are going to be graded using the same grading rubric and will be scanned with anti-plagiarism software. And that grading rubric is on the Getting Started page of Blackboard. You have access to it at all times. So if you have any questions about the grading rubric, please let me know. Also notice you will have your paper scanned with anti-plagiarism software, and with a paper like the research paper, that's all the more important to make sure you include those in-text citations and the citations on the works cited page. Because on my end, it's literally going to highlight the sentences that came from outside sources and let me know. And so just make sure that you do plenty of citations, cite your sources, and you won't have to worry about that. I have a spot down here for brainstorming and outlining if you'd like to use this to draft ideas. Notice I didn't list topics for this research paper. It's an open topic research paper. You'll have an opportunity next week to create a topic proposal and outline, and I will read over those and give you feedback on them. For this particular assignment, I need to approve your research paper topic. So just know that you will be choosing a topic and creating an outline based off your ideas on how you want to approach the topic. So go ahead and start thinking about what you want to research. Choose something you're interested in. The more interested the writer is about the topic, the more interesting it is for the reader to read about it. So just make sure you choose a topic you genuinely want to know more information about. If it's a historical figure that you learned a little bit about back in middle school or high school and you want to know more about them, you can choose a historical figure. You could choose a hot button issue that's being discussed now. You could choose, honestly, the sky's the limit on this assignment, because I've found that when students choose their own topic, they really are more invested in the research and you will just enjoy reading about it. I want you to know that research papers do not have to be so strict and academic. They really can be almost fun. And it's one of the easier, fun ways to learn about a subject is to research about it. So please let me know if you have any questions. I'm always here to help, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks. Bye.